Every single second of every day, there's an invisible war being fought all around us. It's not on some far-off battlefield, but in the ones and zeros that connect our entire world. So today, we're going to go behind the front lines. We're going to dissect a cyber crisis, from that very first breach to the final critical question, who's to blame? Let's get into it. It almost never starts with a big explosion. No, every major cyber incident begins with something small, almost silent. It's just a single moment where the digital walls that are supposed to protect us get a tiny, invisible crack. And this log file from October 31st, well, it tells the whole story. At 10:37 in the morning, there's an attempt to log in as the user Dayu Kao. Failure. A second later, another one. Failure. Again and again and again. We're talking 8 failures in just 8 seconds, all from the exact same IP address. It's a classic brute force attack, just hammering away at the door. And then, at 10:37 and 38 seconds, success. They're in. That's it. That's all it took. Okay, so once that alarm bell finally rings, the game completely changes. It's not about defense anymore. It's all about detection. A digital crime scene has just been established, and the hunt for the intruder has to follow a very strict, very methodical playbook. See, when an intruder is suspected, the response isn't just chaos, it's a highly structured process. This right here is the NIST Incident Response Lifecycle. It's basically the official roadmap for cyber defenders. It all starts with preparation, then moves into detection and analysis. That's finding the breach. Then you've got containment, eradication, and recovery, which is all about cleaning up the mess. And crucially, it ends with post-incident activity. That's where the most important lessons are learned, so you can stop it from ever happening again. To work in this world, you absolutely need a specific mindset. They call it the ABC principle. Assume nothing about how the attacker got in, believe nothing you see at face value, and challenge and check every single piece of data. Every log file, every timestamp, every little packet of data is a potential clue or a potential lie. And that skepticism is so important because digital evidence has to meet some really tough standards. First, auditability. That just means a third party can come in and check your work. Then, repeatability. Can your own team get the same result twice? And finally, reproducibility. Can a totally different team with totally different tools also get the same result? It's all about scientific rigor because these findings, they might have to hold up in a court of law. So now, let's talk about the modern battlefield because there's a powerful new player, artificial intelligence. But here's the twist. AI is fighting for both sides. It's become an indispensable tool for defenders and, at the same time, a terrifying new weapon for attackers. The duality here is pretty stark. On the one hand, you've got AI for security, which is supercharging human defenders, automating tedious tasks, and giving them incredible insights. But on the other hand, you've got security for AI, which highlights all these new weaknesses. Attackers can now manipulate AI models with things like prompt injection, they can exploit API vulnerabilities, or even use AI hallucinations to create total chaos. And the pace of change? It is just staggering. I mean, think about it. In 2020, we got the powerful GPT-3 language model. By 2022, ChatGPT was released to the public. And now, in 2024, these AI agents are gaining autonomy. They can actually act independently. So the threat isn't just a smart tool anymore. It's a smart agent that can make its own decisions. And here's a real-world example for you. A critical vulnerability was recently found in Microsoft's 365 Copilot. What's absolutely terrifying is that it's a zero-click vulnerability. Now, what does that mean? It means the victim doesn't have to click a link, they don't have to open an attachment, they don't have to do anything at all to trigger the attack. The attack itself was alarmingly simple. A hacker sends an email with hidden, malicious instructions inside. Copilot, because it's designed to be helpful, just automatically runs those instructions in the background. And just like that, the attacker can steal data. This vulnerability was rated a 9.3 out of 10 for severity. I mean, that's almost as bad as it gets. Now, Microsoft has since patched it, but this whole thing serves as a major, major warning shot for the age of AI. All right, so the breach has been contained. The intruder is gone, and the systems are clean. But the fight? It's not over, not by a long shot. Now the technical battle transforms into a human and legal one, and it's all focused on accountability. And this is the question that just echoes through boardrooms and courtrooms after every single major incident. It's not just about fixing a technical flaw anymore. It's about assigning responsibility for the failure.
Legally, this all comes down to a concept called the burden of proof. In simple terms, it's about who has to prove their case. The general rule is if you're the one making a claim, you have to be the one to back it up with evidence. But as you can see here, when the stakes are high, things can get complicated really, really fast.
And where that burden falls depends heavily on the type of case we're talking about. In criminal cases, the prosecutor has the burden. The defendant is presumed innocent. They have the right to remain silent. But in civil cases, it's the person making the claim, the plaintiff, who has the burden to prove the defendant was at fault. And that's a critical distinction when it comes to corporate liability.
That massive CrowdStrike outage from 2024, it's a perfect example of accountability in action. So first, what happened? Well, a faulty update caused the infamous blue screen of death on computers worldwide. Second, why did it happen? A flaw was missed during their validation checks. And third, how do they prevent it from happening again? They committed to enhanced testing, better resiliency, and even third-party code reviews. Now, that is what taking ownership looks like. Because ultimately, all of this, the code, the attacks, the defense, it all comes down to people. The highly skilled, often stressed out professionals who are the real guardians of our digital world.
In a high-stress field like this, it's really easy to think about jumping ship, right? But there's that common saying that offers some perspective. The grass is not always greener on the other side. The idea of some perfect, stress-free job somewhere else is, well, often just a mirage. So the advice for those on the front lines is surprisingly human. First, try to find satisfaction where you are. For junior to mid-level folks, the recommendation is to actually stay in a role for at least 4 to 5 years to really build that deep experience. But most importantly, follow your passion for the field, not just the paycheck. If you become a true expert, believe me, the money will follow you.
And that brings us to our final thought. As AI gets smarter and these threats become more and more autonomous, we have to ask ourselves, are we betting on our algorithms, or are we betting on the judgment, the creativity, and the dedication of the people behind the keyboard? I think that's the real question at the heart of our digital future.